Welcome in, everyone, to Lively Lewis Stories.
That's right. We're back with even more awesome adventures with Levi and Ivy.
Set your storytime meter to fun and get ready to join the Lively Lewis crew.
All you need is your imagination and...
Off we go! I can't wait to see where our story takes us today.
Have you ever wanted to get more Lively Lewis in your life?
Well, we've got you covered.
Grab an adult and zoom over to livelylewisshop.com.
Or just click on the link in our show notes.
Enough about that. Let's get to today's super Lively Lewis story.
Hey friends, this is part 2 of Levi and Ivy's Snowy Vacation. If you haven't listened to part 1, rush over, listen to that one first, and then come back and join us on this episode. This is the coolest thing ever, said Levi. And not just because he's made of snow. Nice to meet you too, answered Snowy as he stretched out his arms and looked around. You did a great job. But before Levi and Ivy could ask their snowman friend a bunch of questions, they heard 2 voices that they knew very well. It was their mom and dad. They had been having so much fun that they had lost track of time. Oh no, we'd better go, said Ivy, but we'll come back to see you later today. Sounds good to me, answered Blizzard with a smile. You know where we'll be. See you soon, called out Snowy as Levi and Ivy ran off to meet up with their parents. As they ran back toward the sound of their parents' voices, Levi and Ivy talked about what had just happened. Once they got back to their parents, they were ready to tell them all about their magical experience over lunch. But they would soon find out that the mischievous forest friends had other ideas when it came to eating at the lodge. Mom, Dad, we just had the most magical and unbelievable time, Ivy started. We can't wait to tell you all about it over lunch, said Levi. We're starving after the morning we had. I'm sure you have lots of fun things to tell us, but unfortunately, lunch will have to wait a bit, said Levi and Ivy's mom, handing them each an apple that she had brought from home. It looks like someone or something took all of the dishes, pots, pans, and utensils from the kitchen. Yep, the staff is trying their best to get some things together now to feed everyone, but they're suggesting that maybe we go to a nearby restaurant if we're really hungry, added Levi and Ivy's dad. Levi and Ivy didn't really think much of it, assuming that maybe someone in the kitchen had just misplaced some things. They were so hungry, so they decided to go elsewhere for lunch. And as Levi and Ivy's parents went to get the car, Levi and Ivy ran into Mr. Frost. I am so sorry about lunch, said Mr. Frost. I'm hoping to have the situation fixed very soon. However, it's been happening a lot lately, and we can't seem to stop the little thieves. So you know who's taking your kitchen stuff? Asked Levi. Yep, some very smart and sneaky bears, said Mr. Frost. I wonder if Blizzard knows them, whispered Ivy to Levi, but Mr. Frost overheard her. Did you say Blizzard? Asked Mr. Frost, sounding surprised. The magical frost that lives in the snowy forest. Amazed that Mr. Frost knew Blizzard, Levi and Ivy were all smiles, as they were so excited to be able to talk with someone else about the amazing adventure they had had. Yes, we just met him and went ice skating together, said Levi. Then we went to see his snow fort and made this huge snowman named Snowy that came to life, added Ivy. It was incredible. Hearing that Mr. Frost's frown about the missing food turned into a huge smile. He knew Ivy and Levi were just the 2 that could help him catch the mischievous bears. They're called the Snowy Bandits, and these 2 little bears have been taking all our kitchen gear without asking from the lodge kitchen for weeks, said Mr. Frost. I'd be happy to share with them if they would just ask, but they never have, and every time I try to catch up with them to talk, they slip away from me. This time, though, it's the most they've ever taken. Levi and Ivy immediately wanted to do all they could and knew that with Blizzard and Snowy by their side, they could help Mr. Frost and Snowy Mountain Lodge. So after they got back from lunch with their parents and told them all about the incredible new friends, they got right to work. Levi and Ivy's parents knew they had both had wonderful imaginations and didn't think much of Blizzard and Snowy, but they did think it was very nice that they wanted to help Mr. Frost. They were so excited to do it that their parents agreed and let them continue on their great adventure. We'll expect a full report at dinner tonight, said Levi and Ivy's mom as her kids hugged her goodbye and ran off to meet up with Blizzard and Snowy. Once Levi and Ivy made it through Snowy's forest and back to Blizzard's fort, they told him and Snowy all about what was happening at the lodge. Oh yeah, I totally know the Snowy Bandits, said Blizzard. They're always taking things that don't belong to them. I've tried to figure out why they do what they do, but then they always run off before we can talk. I think if we all work together, we can figure out a way to stop them and maybe even help them to not do it again, said Ivy. With everyone on board, she, Levi, Blizzard, and Snowy got to work creating a plan to stop the snowy bandits. The one thing they knew about these mischievous bears is that they loved kitchen stuff. So they knew their plan to catch them would have to include some shiny pans, pretty dishes, and as many utensils as they could find. Blizzard then led Levi, Ivy, and Snowy through the snowy forest to find where snowy bandits could usually be found hanging out. Once they got closer to a little clearing in the forest, they could hear the bears laughing and talking about the kitchen stuff they had taken from the lodge. "What a haul today," said one of the bears. "All of my favorite dishes, too. Pans, bowls, ladles, and dishes. So many dishes." "I know, I can't wait to share them with all our friends," said another bear as he rubbed his paws together while standing in front of the huge pile of kitchen items. The bears then carried off the bags of supplies as Snowy, Blizzard, Levi, Ivy watched, not knowing exactly what to do. That was until Blizzard had an idea. "We'll need to catch them first. Then they can lead us to the place that they're keeping all the stuff they take from the lodge," whispered Blizzard. "There's so many caves around here, we'll be looking for days if we tried to find it on our own." "But how do we catch them?" asked Levi. "Well, they're so focused on kitchen stuff that we know we need to use some of those things to get their attention," said Ivy. "But don't you think they'd be a little suspicious if all of a sudden there was a pile of kitchen utensils just waiting in the forest for them?" asked Levi. "Maybe. Or maybe it's just crazy enough to work," answered Ivy. At that point, they decided to give it a try because they wanted to do whatever it took to help Mr. Frost and Snowy Mountain Lodge. So off they ran to Blizzard's fort where he worked some of his amazing magic to create a whole bunch of ladles, whisks, and slotted spoons. Then they took the kitchen gear and plopped it in a big pile right where they had seen the bears before. And after that, they waited. It didn't take very long for the bears to see the sunlight reflecting off shiny silver spoons, and before long, they were back. "We've got them now," whispered Ivy. "See, I told you it would work." But once the bears approached the pile of ladles, whisks, and slotted spoons, they looked suspicious and circled them a few times. Because what Blizzard, Snowy, Levi, and Ivy didn't know was that the bears knew they were watching them and had set up this little trap. So they waited and waited and waited until Blizzard, Snowy, Levi, and Ivy turned away from the pile of kitchen stuff to think of a better plan. "Okay, you were right, Levi. It didn't work," said Ivy, sounding frustrated.
Or did it?
Said Snowy, looking at where the kitchen gear used to be.
I think the bears grabbed it while we were talking just now.
"Oh, man," exclaimed Ivy as she looked around and couldn't see the bears anywhere. "How about we try my idea? Let's leave a trail of dishes, bowls, and platters into one of the caves with a net at the end. Once they pick up the last dish, the net will fall on them, and then they can tell us where all the other stuff is that they took from the lodge kitchen." Everyone agreed to give it a try, and after Blizzard used his magic to make up a bunch of dishes, bowls, and platters, they laid them out, set up a big net, and waited. But once again, the bears outwitted them as they took all but the last few dishes that were in the cave. By doing that, they avoided the net and being caught. However, they knew the net worked because when Blizzard went in to retrieve the last dish, it dropped down on him, giving him quite a scare. As Levi and Ivy and Snowy helped Blizzard out of the net, they heard the bears outside.
I can't believe those guys are trying to catch us,
laughed the bear.
It'll never happen.
"You got that right," said the other bear. "We'll have our Snowy Forest restaurant up and running soon. And then all anyone will be able to talk about is how great our cooking is. And no one will ever care where we got our kitchen stuff in the first place."
That's right. The first Snowy Restaurant Forest. No, the first Snowy Forest restaurant. And we'll be the master chefs,
cheered the other bears as they walked into the falling snow. After hearing that, Blizzard and Snowy came up with a plan that they wanted to test out. It would take just a touch of magic and a lot of their animals. Levi and Ivy trusted Blizzard and Snowy and watched as the plan took shape. Blizzard used his amazing fort-building skills to make a restaurant in the center of the snowy forest. Then he sent out a call to all the animals he knew in the area to come and try it out. However, they were all in on the trick, because it only took a few minutes for the snowy bandits to find out what was happening, and they were not happy. "A restaurant? Open it up in the snowy forest, and we're not the ones opening it up?" yelled the bears when they heard the news. After that, all they could do was follow the line of forest animals that were headed for this new place to eat.
As soon as they arrived, the bears saw a line out the door and couldn't believe their eyes. This should be their restaurant. This should be their customers. They should be eating their wonderfully cooked food. So it didn't take long for the bears to push their way to the front of the line and demand to know who was in charge.
"Why, it's me," said Blizzard, turning around with a big smile on his face.
The bears immediately recognized Blizzard and sensed it was all a trap, given that he had been following them with Snowy, Levi, and Ivy all day. But once the bears finally put all the clues together, it was too late to run. Snowy stepped right behind them, and when they turned to make an escape, the giant towering snowman quickly put a stop to that. He picked up the two bears in his huge snowy hand and walked them over to the edge of the lake.
"So I think you know why we did all of this," said Blizzard to the snowy bandits. "You need to return all the kitchen stuff you took from the lodge. Taking things that aren't yours is never the right thing to do." That's when the bears broke down, looking really sad as they saw their dreams of opening Snowy's Forest restaurant quickly slipping away.
"We just love cooking so much," whispered one of the bears, "and all we ever wanted was to open our own restaurant here in the Snowy Forest." "But you don't exactly see many cooking supply stores around here, now do you?" asked the other bear. "So we took a few things from the lodge. We didn't think they'd mind."
"Well, I think they did mind when you pretty much took everything in their kitchen," said Ivy.
"Did you ever think of just asking Mr. Frost for help?" asked Levi. "Well, no, not really," said one of the bears. "Do you really think that would have worked?"
"There's only one way to find out," said Blizzard with a big smile.
The bears then walked with Blizzard, Snowy, Levi, and Ivy back to the cave where they had stored all of the kitchen supplies they had taken over the last couple of weeks. Blizzard used his magic to transport it all back to the lodge where Mr. Frost, Levi, and Ivy's parents had a bunch of hungry people waiting. "Oh, I wish you would have just asked for my help in the first place," said Mr. Frost to the bears as they explained their story. They apologized and returned all of the things they took. They were then ready to head back to the Snowy Mountain Forest when Mr. Frost asked them a question. "Where do you think you're going? It just so happens I need 2 more cooks in my kitchen. Do you 2 think you'd be able to help? I heard you love to cook." The Snowy Bandits, now known as the Snowy Chefs throughout the area, couldn't believe their ears. They agreed immediately and ran right into the kitchen to get cooking. After all, the people at the lodge had been waiting to eat for hours. That night, under the magic and splendor of a winter moon, Mr. Frost celebrated his 2 new chefs, as well as Blizzard, Snowy, Levi, and Ivy around a giant bonfire with a grand s'mores party.
"Now, what would make this night even better?" asked Blizzard to Levi and Ivy as they warmed themselves by the fire. "How about a little snow?"
"I'd like that,"
said Snowy. "Us too," said Levi and Ivy. And then, with a swish of his fluffy tail, tiny perfect snowflakes began to fall from the night sky, blanketing the whole area in shimmering snow. Levi and Ivy enjoyed the rest of their time at Snowy Mountain Lodge with their family and their new friends. And they learned a very important lesson that first day: how teamwork, understanding, and kindness can turn any situation into a wonderful, memorable adventure. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the story and learned a little something too.
And since we know everyone has their own story, we'd love to hear yours.
If you have an idea for a Lively Lewis story, leave a comment on our Apple Podcast review page with 5 stars, your idea, and your little one's name.
Then maybe our next adventure will be with you.
Until our next Storytime Hangout.
Thanks for listening. We can't wait to share another fun, Lively Lewis story with you.